Hello, it's great to see you. I am working with Rosie Studio Make a Splash today. So as you guys know, I am on their design team, or their creative club as they call it. But I actually bought this collection years ago. So this is one of the ones that I used when I was doing all the lives during lockdown and COVID and all that stuff. So I grabbed it out again because I'm part of a summer swap and it's under the sea themed. And Make a Splash is just perfect for that. So I did share a picture of this book all finished on my Instagram, and I got a lot of comments asking me how I made it and to film a tutorial or a process. So that's what this is. I am starting off using this craft card. I will put the measurements on the screen for you because I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'm cutting 2 pieces from that craft card instead of chipboard, and then I'm actually cutting some other pieces to go on top to make it a bit more stable. So I would recommend cutting 4 of those pieces if you're using craft card, and then just 2 if you're using chipboard or something a bit sturdier. I'll show you what I mean shortly, but I will be wrapping these in this really pretty paper with the silver holographic on it. This is one of my favourites from the collection, and this is from the 12x12 pad. So I'm just making sure that this is going to be big enough to wrap around those craft card pieces. And then I had an idea for a spine inspired by Bambi Deer, so I'm just cutting some pieces to make that. I will also put the sizes on the screen for that one for you. To assemble these, I'm getting my 2 pieces that are going to cover these craft card, and then I'm layering those up. So this is how I've decided to make my craft card a bit sturdier. I didn't want to cut into another whole A4 sheet, so I've gone ahead and used like little scraps and sort of pieced them together to make 2 layers of craft card on each one. But you could definitely use chipboard or something a bit sturdier if you wanted to. Or the easy way would be to just cut 2 craft card pieces the correct size and not try and use up all the scraps. To wrap this, I just go around all 4 edges with my scoring tool. It just makes it fold a bit easier later on, and then cut those corners out as you saw me do there. Fold that over, use some double-sided tape, and there we go, that's nice and wrapped on one side. Then the lovely Lisa taught me this, so tuck those little corner edge extra bits in with your scoring tool, and then when you fold over the last 2 sides, it looks much neater on the corners. So I'm still using that tip, Lisa, thank you very much. I really love it when somebody has a solution to a problem. So I was chatting to her in a group chat ages ago, and I said that I could never get my corners to look smart and, you know, the correct shape, and she told me that little trick. So now I'm sharing it with you guys. So that's one all wrapped and ready. And then the second one, exactly the same thing. Sticking my craft card onto the piece that I'm going to be wrapping it with. But first I'm just adding these little extra pieces to make it a bit sturdier. Using this tape from 𝓷𝓸𝓬𝓪. I really like that it's super wide. But the only thing is you can only get it in like a pack with all different sizes, which is a bit annoying. So, I mean, I'm still going to buy it because I like the width. But I wonder if there is an alternative. If you know of a good alternative, let me know. Cutting the corners off exactly the same. Adding some double-sided tape for those edges that I'm going to fold over. I really liked this paper had the different colours that faded into each other, and so I used sort of a selection of those, and then the ones I'm using for the spine I made sure came from the ones that connected those two, so it sort of all looks like it flows together nicely. Make a Splash is still one of my favourite Rosie Studio collections. I have far too much of it left because I used a bunch of it during all of the lives, and then I actually went on and ordered some more so that I wouldn't run out. So to make my spine, I have decided to add these 3 little rectangle pieces in the centre here so that it will look like it's got gaps in the spine. I was trying to work out how to space it, then realised that obviously I can use the grid on the board. I don't know why I didn't think of that sooner. And I added some tape further in because I knew that the rectangles would go that far in. I should have stuck it right at the edge. So if you are going to do this method, please do make sure to add your double-sided tape right at the edge. And it works out better. I do fix it later on with some wet glue. But you can see I've just weighed that down with that punch, and then I'm sticking these down one at the top, one at the bottom, one in the middle. That's how it's supposed to look when you fold it and it looks sort of rounded. I didn't like it, so I squished it flat to see if I liked that better. And then I decided that I just needed it stuck right to the edge. So I tried to use double-sided tape, but you'd need to sort of measure each piece and I couldn't be bothered. So I went ahead and used some wet glue instead, just to make it stick all the way up to the edge. And then that way I could have a squared off edging, binding, that's what I'm thinking of. I could have a squared off binding. And then I have gone in with the 6x6 paper pad and had a look for what I can use on the inside covers. So I really, really love so many of these designs. It was so hard to choose. But I go with, I believe, this one with the seashell because it's just so perfect. And it's great to leave as a whole page. Obviously, you can decorate it many beautiful ways, but it's got that nice bit of decoration without you having to add too much if you don't want to. So working out where that can go, what kind of size I need it to be. Again, I will stick down some measurements for you if I have them. You can find them in the description box. And I'm just working that out by eye by the looks of it. Just snipping where I know I need to cut and then cutting out on here. This little mini paper trimmer my mum actually got me for Christmas years ago. And I don't often pull it out, but I was using the 6x6 pad, so I thought, let's give it a go. And it actually cuts rather beautifully, so that was handy. Gluing this inside piece down to cover up those binder pieces or binding pieces. And then I only had a small piece of that paper left, so I was thinking about making a pocket or something using two different papers, little tappy indecisive hands there, and I decided instead to just pick a new paper. So I go with this seashell one, again, has to be one of my favourites, one of my most used for sure. Trimming that up and then popping that on the back cover. I didn't actually add any sewing to this one, I don't think. A nice little no-sew mini album for you. It's nice to have options. I know not everybody has a sewing machine, or they can't always be bothered to get it out, which is my case. So that purple seashell on the back there. And then I know I want to add something dangling from that spine, so I think that's what we move on to next. See, I've sort of left it a little bit curved, the spine, but it's not how I envisioned it at first, but it works out and I like it nonetheless. So I add a hole at the top and the bottom of the spine. Go ahead and look at some eyelets. I actually find these really fun at beach ones. So these were de-stashed to me, I believe. Maybe a family friend or something. It came in like a big box of things and I found those and I loved them. So I've got a little heart down the bottom there. And then I've got this little boat at the top, which I thought was perfectly sea themed. Just setting those in place. At this point, I still wasn't sure what I was going to add on here, but I knew I wanted something dangling from the spine. So I needed my eyelets, just showing you a bit closer up there what they look like. Do I square this binding off? I think I do. I think I sort of push it into a square in the end. I tried to keep it rounded, but it's just... I just didn't like it, so I've gone ahead, there you go, and squared it all off. So it's a nice little book outer there. And then I decided to use this little heart clip. I got gifted this one and I've been holding on to it for ages. I think I've got one more. I'm sort of looking around my room and I've got one holding up a picture, but I think this might be the only other one I've got. And so I decided it was perfect in here. It was the right width that the book will still close. And I just hot glued that in place. I thought it could hold some embellishments. So for the swap that I'm doing, it was just an under the sea mail. It had to be flat mail, which we take as meaning that it needs to fit into a large letter like box is what I have, I guess. I'm not sure if you've seen them, but it's the maximum width of a large letter. So I think it's 2.5 centimetres. And then obviously it has the correct other dimensions. I buy them in a lovely pale pink colour. And then I just fit my mail into those. So when I was making this little mini album, I made sure that it wasn't too tall to go in there. And it wasn't too wide or anything either. And I knew I wanted to put some embellishments in there. I think you had to have, I want to say you had to have like one embellishment and some kind of mail, something like that. It was very, very minimal requirements for this one. And your swap partner also has like a little bio. and mine said that she didn't love anything particularly. I think it was kawaii she didn't love, something like that. So I went for cute but not too what I would consider sort of cartoony, I guess. So this collection has these beautiful mermaids. I was desperate to put one of those on the front, but again, my swap partner, I didn't think that was her vibe. So I went for this shell with the pearl inside. This little piece that says Salty Kisses, Starfish Wishes. I'm pretty sure that stays on there. These vellum pieces are beautiful, that vellum starfish. And then I sort of put everything down to the bottom, grabbed some of these vines, or little under the sea plants, I'm not sure what they're called. And at this point I was literally just pulling out anything that I thought would work. Again, she said she liked cute, so I didn't know really the line between sort of cute and kawaii. I was chatting to Zoe about it and we were sort of like, is kawaii sort of anything with a face on that shouldn't have? So like cute food with a smiley face, you know, that sort of thing. So I wasn't sure if mermaids fit that, but I knew that fish have faces, so fish were safe. And then obviously shells and things, I think they match cute. So I have trimmed down that little sentiment, put it onto some glitter card. Used hot glue for that because I don't trust any other adhesive for glitter card. Maybe wet glue, but it moves around a bit much. Got that, and I've sort of tucked that behind the front piece of that shell. Again, because I hadn't added stitching, I was looking for something to sort of anchor my cluster down there. So I used this, is it called rickrack? This sort of wavy trim at the bottom there in pink. Just glued that all along the bottom. I'm really hoping that doesn't unravel. Usually I would heat seal the ends, but this one doesn't heat seal very well, so I'm hoping the hot glue will hold it in place and hold the ends steady. Now I'm just working out where to layer things. So hot glue, it seems like it was a hot glue kind of day. Oh no, we've gone back to wet glue. This is handy for things that you want to sort of move around a little bit before you decide. All of these little vines or plants going on there. Just layering a bunch of those up. This one is a little vellum one, which I love. Every time I look at this collection, I want to buy more of it. I never want to be without it. And I love that their collections come with 2 of each thing in the pack. So the die cuts and things, you get 2 of each, which I really appreciate because it stops me hoarding things as much, I think. Because I know I've got another one. Also, I like to create scenes and things like this, so having 2 of things is really handy for that. This is going to be my main piece, this little sentiment and the shell. So I go ahead and put those up on some foam tape. Bit of hot glue too for good measure. This little vellum starfish, I love him. Tried to hide the glue behind one of the glitter spots on the starfish. I'm hoping that worked. So you can't see the glue through it too much. More of these little vines. Just sort of tucking them all over the place. Hiding them behind things. Does this one make it? I can't remember. That's the thing. I edit all in one go and then I do voiceovers and sometimes I forget what happened. These gem fish have been in my stash forever. I think I got them to make a swap or as part of a swap, one of the two. And they've been in my stash ever since. And they are just giant gem goldfish. And I love them, but I mean, there aren't that many projects that you can put a giant crystal goldfish on, except this. This one was perfect. So I added a couple of those. And then this little fish from the ephemera. There are some bubbles in the ephemera, so I added those on there as well. This little silver starfish, I love him. I'm not sure if he makes it though. Little pink starfish. Oh, there's some glue on this piece of paper because the Barely Arts glue does like to explode out of the top a lot. So I just wipe it on some paper and use that to glue things down rather than waste it. So that's what I'm doing there, in case you're wondering. Does that little pink starfish make it? I think he does. Then I have a look at these. So they've got the blue gems to look like bubbles. I'm trying to decide if I want to use those or the paper bubbles. So I actually go ahead and add a couple of each, I believe. So you can see I've already added a couple of the little crystal ones, and then I'm adding the ones from the die cut pack. Adding a few more on here. Moving the bubbles around. There we go. I always end up creating a sort of scene. I don't know why I can't just layer things and have them just not match. A lot of people can and it looks fantastic, but my brain just doesn't work that way, it seems. Adding on that little silver starfish. I love him. There is a little starfish on that puffy sticker sheet, but I don't manage to use that one. I did consider one of the little mermaids. I'm not sure if she makes it inside, actually. Punching some stars out of the same glitter cardstock that I used to back that sentiment, and popping those on the front as well. This little pink starfish makes it down the bottom here. Then those sparkly pink ones. It was nice to actually use some of my punches for this. Don't often use punches. Then I'm working on the spine. So I decide to use some cotton thread, sewing, what would you call it? Like just sewing thread, I guess. Embroidery thread, that's the one I'm looking for. In this pretty lilac-y purple colour. I pull out a bunch of beads that I like the look of or that look like they match. And I decide that I'm going to add those onto the spine. I wanted to use chain, but I didn't have any silver chain, so that's why I came up with this in the end. Getting some charms out as well that I think match the under the sea vibe. Starting on the inside, coming out, I add some washi tape to hold my thread inside the book so it's not going to come out. Add a bead on, then go back through the bead so it will hold it in place. I'm showing you that now. There we go. So it's sort of tied on in that spot. And then working out where I want my next bead to go. Same thing, up through the bead and then back up through the bead. Holding it in place so that they're nice and spaced out. I didn't want beads the whole way along it because I knew I wanted to go around a few times. So you'll see me keep adding beads and charms in the same way. So just through and then back through again. There we go. See me doing that. I have got a needle on the end of that thread. I'm not sure if you can see that very well. Then in through the top, back out through the bottom. I am glad I thought of that washi tape because I'm definitely pulling against it. I think I do one with no beads. There you go. Yep, that was. Sorry, I don't know if that came out very clearly. Just making noises at you. And then more beads on the third go through, I believe. Yep, there we go. I'm working out where they need to be to sort of sit in between the others that I've placed previously. This pretty little charm is lovely. It's like a little clamshell with a pearl inside. And then a bunch of other beads from all over the place. A lot from Temu. A lot from swaps and things. I keep them all in a little pot that I call bead soup. And I just go through that when I want some beads and choose some ones that I think will match. Moving that one down slightly because it's against the other bead. Final one, I believe. Yep. And then back through. And then I just tie these two ends together in the centre there. Tie it once, then put them underneath the other threads and tie it again. So that it sort of ties them all together. I'm hoping that makes sense. If not, you just have to watch what I'm doing. There you go. So it goes under and then tie it round. It holds them all together nicely. And then just cutting that nice and short so it doesn't look like a big mess in the middle. And there's my pretty little something on the spine. There we go. And I think that is everything. So I do have a video for the bits that I made to go inside that I will show you shortly. I will share that separately. I think there's a sneak coming up at the end here. Add my little made by label, which Cheryl made. So CRG Art made that one for me. And then a quick look at the final project. You can see behind, oh, here we go. Here's your little sneak peek of the things that go inside. And you can see behind some other bits. So if you're interested in seeing me put all of the inside bit together, please do join me for that video. I'll have it linked in the description. Thanks so much for hanging out and crafting with me. And I will be back again to make something with you very soon. Bye!